In 2024, should you buy, lease, or finance your next car? It's a decision that can really impact your bank account. So in this video, I want to break down each option to help you figure out the best one for you. My name is Ash. I'm a financial planner based in London. I help my clients make smart decisions to live a happier, more secure future. If you are interested in booking in a free 30-minute consultation with me, head to the description and you'll find a link to book that in. Let's start by talking about buying a car outright. This means paying the full price upfront. Owning your car from day one means that you don't have to worry about any monthly payments. It also means that you can modify it or sell it at any point if you wanted to. However, there is one very important thing to think about here. Cars, especially brand new ones, depreciate very quickly. In the first year alone, you can expect the value of your car to drop by around 15%, and over 3 years, you'd expect a fall of 40 to 50%. The brands you buy are very important too. More luxury brands like BMW and Audi tend to depreciate a lot faster than more humble brands like Toyota and Honda. So whilst buying outright is definitely the simplest option, it's important to consider the long-term implications when you account for any depreciation. Option number 2 is financing, or otherwise known as hire purchase. Here you pay a deposit at the start, and then you spread the rest of the cost over monthly payments over maybe 3 to 5 years. It is a solid choice if you don't think that you can afford such a large payment for the whole car up front. It can be simple to budget, as you know what you're going to be paying for this car every month. And if you make all of your payments on time, it can also benefit your credit score. But there is a catch to watch out for here. Interest rates for car loans don't tend to be less than around 8% a year right now, which can really increase the cost of your car purchase over the long term. Also, you will only really have full ownership of the car once you've paid it off. And don't forget that the car still depreciates. So at the end of the term, when you finally paid off the car, it's likely not going to be worth the amount that you've paid throughout the whole period for the car. Well, what about leasing? Think about leasing like a long-term rental. You don't own the car, you just pay monthly to use it. This is perfect for people who don't know which car they want to drive for the next 10 years. And maybe they want to switch car every 3 years and drive a brand new one each time. The monthly payments for your lease are likely to be a lot less than through financing, through hire purchase. And also you can probably get things like maintenance included in your monthly premium. However, there are a few limitations here to think about. With the lease, you have a set number of miles you can drive each year, and if you go over this number, you're likely to be charged a bit extra. Also, when you return the car, it needs to be in good condition. If it's damaged, you're likely to pay, again, extra fees. And remember that at the end of the term of the lease, you give the car back. So your premiums throughout the whole lease don't really go towards buying a car. You still have to go and find a brand new car at the end of the lease. The fourth option, that's a little more complicated, is PCP, personal contract purchase. This is kind of a hybrid between financing and leasing. You pay a deposit followed by monthly payments, which are likely to be a lot less than if you did it through hire purchase. When the contract ends, you have the option of paying a balloon payment to buy the car and own it, or you can just give the car back. If you give the car back, then you can potentially start a brand new deal. PCP can be great for flexibility. It gives you the choice to either give the car back or take ownership of it at the end of the term, not right at the beginning. However, one thing to watch out for here is that the balloon payment at the end of the term is likely to be fairly large. And like leasing, you'll pay extra fees if you do extra miles or if there's any damage to the car. It's an option that offers variety, but you need to be careful about the cost implications. Let's dive into the numbers with a quick example. Imagine you're in the market for an Audi A3 S-Line. First, buying outright. Something with decent spec will probably cost you around £35,630. Over 3 years, you'd expect this car to depreciate by around 40%. A 2020 model of the same car is currently going for around £21,000. So let's assume this is the resale value that you will get when you try and sell the car in 3 years' time. Remember that costs like maintenance, insurance, and fuel will apply regardless of how you get this car, whether it's through a lease, finance, or buying outright. So make sure to account for these costs with your long-term budget. So after 3 years, you paid £35,630 up front, but you managed to sell the car for £21,000, which leaves you with £14,630 as a total cost. Next, let's look at financing through hire purchase. With this, you'd pay a deposit of around £6,630, and you'd finance the remaining £29,000. At an 8.9% interest rate, your monthly payments on this would be £948 a month. This brings your total cost to £40,774. If after 3 years you manage to sell your car again for £21,000, that leaves you with £19,774 as your total cost. Now, with leasing, you don't own the car, so there's no resale value at the end. If your deposit is £4,302 and your monthly payment is £362.71 a month, your total cost is £16,996. Finally, with PCP, you'd pay a deposit upfront of £6,630. Your monthly payments will be a lot lower than hire purchase at around £542 a month. And over 3 years, that adds up to £25,600. At the end of the term, you have the option to pay a balloon payment of £16,631. So if you keep the car, your total cost comes up to £42,231. However, if you return the car, then you just have to pay the £25,600 and you don't have to pay any balloon payment. Of course, you do have the option of paying the balloon payment, buying the car, and then selling it privately for a higher price, which is probably going to be around £21,000. That brings your net total cost to £21,231. So if you're planning to drive a new car in 3 years' time, buying outright gives you full ownership and a total cost under around £15,000. Financing through hire purchase gives you the flexibility to stretch the payments over the 3 years, however has a higher cost of just under £20,000. Leasing offers a relatively low overall cost, just under £17,000, however it offers no ownership. And PCP, whilst offering the most flexibility, comes in the most expensive, just under £22,000. If you do decide that you want to keep the car at the 3-year mark, then buying outright will have the lowest overall cost. Hire purchase would have an overall cost just over £40,000. PCP comes in just over £42,000. Although leasing offers no ownership, at the end of your term, you can ask your leasing company to give you a price to buy that car. It will often be the market rate at that time. However, in this example, if you bought the car off the leasing company for £21,000, that still brings your overall cost under £38,000, which is cheaper than hire purchase and PCP. Your personal preference is key. And remember that in all of these examples, apart from leasing, you're going to have to sell the car in 3 years at the market rate. This isn't an easy task, and usually you'd have to either sell it to a dealership and take a cut on the amount that you're going to receive, or you're going to have to go through trying to sell it off your driveway, which is not a simple task. If you love long-term ownership, buying outright will often be the cheapest and simplest option. However, if you're struggling with affordability, then financing through hire purchase can help you spread the cost. If you prefer driving new cars every few years, then leasing can be a great option, offering freedom, flexibility, and a relatively low cost. PCP seems like a reasonable alternative, but can often lead to higher costs over the long term. I had to make this choice myself when I moved back to London from Bali in 2022, and I decided to lease for flexibility and lower monthly costs. At the time, the used car market was super inflated, which meant that it made sense for me to go for a brand new car. However, since then, the markets have definitely come down, and for my next car, I will likely buy a used one in some kind of finance arrangement. Each option has its pros and cons, and it all comes down to what is best for you. If you are still unsure about which option you should go for, head to the description and you can book in a free discovery call with me. And if you are considering renting or buying in London right now, check out this video and I will see you there.